guys, this is Elena from We Learn to Learn. This is the fourth video of AP English Language and Composition Glossary of Literary and Rhetorical Devices. If you haven't watched the 3 videos ahead, please go and watch them and then come back to watch this first video. Now let's start by learning this device called paradox. Paradox is a seemingly contradictory situation because, right, it's like a paradox, a contradictory situation which is actually true. So for example, if you say you can't get a job without experience and you can't get experience without getting a job, this is seemingly contradictory situation, right? But it is actually true either ways. So this is what you call paradox. The second is parallelism, which is also known as the parallel structure or balanced sentences. And sentence construction, which places equal grammatical constructions near each other or repeats identical grammatical patterns. You call this parallelism or parallel structure. And this is used to add emphasis, organization, or sometimes pacing to writing. Pacing, which was the speed of writing. So for example, Cinderella swept the floor, dusted the mantle, and bit the rugs. You can see how the subject Cinderella does something, the 3 things, but she uses similar grammatical patterns as she uses the verb swept, dusted, beat, which are all the past tenses of the verbs. And these are the 4 types of parallelism we're going to look at today. So first is anaphora. Anaphora is the repetition of word phrases or clause at the beginning of 2 or more sentences or clauses in a row. This is a deliberate form of repetition and helps makes the writer's point more coherent. Okay, so you can see that I came, I saw, I conquered. So it's basically repetition of the words or phrases or clauses at the beginning or 2, and it makes the writer's point more coherent as a consequence. And then the second type of parallelism is chiasmus, which is when the same words are used twice. Okay, same words are used twice in succession, but the second time the order of the word is reversed. Okay. So it is when, for example, fair is foul and foul is fair. You can see that foul is used twice, right? And also fair is written twice. But you can see that in the first part of the sentence, fair came first, and then foul the latter came after. But in the second part of the sentence, the foul as the first word used, and then the fair coming after. And also over here, when the goings get tough, the tough get going. Okay, you can see how the order of the words of the 2 words are reversed, right? This is what we call as chiasmus, a type of parallelism, and we also call this as antimetabole. Okay, antimetabole. And then antithesis. Antithesis is 2 opposite or contrasting words, phrases, or clauses, or even ideas with parallel structure. Okay, so you can see how the word anti, like the first prefix anti over here, implies something that is different or opposite or contrasting. Okay. So for example, it would be, it was the best of the times, it was the worst of the times. So you can see how there is a comparison. I mean, there's like a contrasting words used over here, best and worst, and they both imply same thing, a parallel structure of times, right? But it's just that the concept of it is contrasting as it uses different opposite words of best and worst. And this is called antithesis. And the next we're going to look is zuegma or syllepsis, which is when a single word governs or modifies 2 or more other words, and the meaning of the first word must change for each of the other word it governs or modifies. Okay? So for example, the butler killed the lights and then the mistress. Or I quickly dressed myself and the salad. Okay, so if you look at the second example, I quickly dressed myself and the salad, the dressing, the first word used, dress itself, means that you can understand it literally as you can dress yourself in your clothes. You can wear your clothes, right? But because this dress also governs myself and also salad, which comes after, the meaning, the literal meaning of dress must change, right? It should not be used as dressing for myself, like dressing by wearing my clothes. But for salad, it should change something to maybe like the salad dressings. So this is the situation when the single word governs 1 or 2 that follows, but the meaning should be changed in order to modify the other word that comes behind. That's called zuegma. And next we're going to look at parenthetical idea, which is parentheses are used to set off an idea from the rest of the sentence, okay? So it is almost considered an aside, a whisper, and should be used sparingly for effect rather than repeatedly. And parentheses can also be used to set off dates and numbers. So for example, in a short time, and the time is getting shorter by the gallon, America will be out of oil. You can see how there are the parentheses over here, right? And you can see that these parentheses are used to set up an idea like this. And this is what you call a parenthetical idea. Next is parody. And parody is an exaggerated imitation of a serious work for humorous purposes. It borrows words or phrases from an original and pokes fun at it. This is also a form of allusion since it is referencing a previous text, event, and etc. The Simpsons, for example, often parody Shakespeare's plays. Saturday Night Live also parodies famous persons and events, and do not confuse this with satire. Because parody, again, if you look at this definition, you can get a sense how it's kind of very humorous, and it's for fun, right? And you're imitating something serious to make fun of it, or basically for humorous purposes. But it's not necessarily bitter or like really critical like a satire, so you should not confuse this with satire. And next is persona. And persona is the fictional mask or narrator that tells a story. And you should not confuse this with alter ego. And next is poetic device. And poetic device is basically a device used in poetry, right, to manipulate the sound of words, sentences, or lines. Now let's look at types of poetic devices. First is alliteration. Alliteration is a repetition of the same consonant sound at the beginning of the words. And consonance is a speech sound that is not a vowel. So for example, it would be the letters like Z, B, or T, G, or H, because the consonants are the non-vowel sounds, okay? And for example, you can see Sally sells seashells by the seashore. And over here, you see that the consonant, which is not a vowel, S, is repeated, right? Sally sells seashells by the seashore. You can see how S is repeated over and over. And this is what you call alliteration. And next is assonance. Assonance is the repetition of identical or similar vowel sounds. So remember once more that the consonant is something that is not a vowel. And assonance is the vowel sound, so which is A, E, I, O, U, right? And you can see how over here in the example, from the molten golden notes, you see how the O are really repeated, right? And how the similar, this O are repeated over and over. And this is what you call assonance. And next, we're going to look at consonance. And consonance is the repetition of the same consonant sound at the end of the words or within words. So again, alliteration was the repetition of, yes, these consonant sounds, but it was at the beginning of the words. But consonance is the repetition of the same consonant sounds, yes, but it is at the end of the words or within words. So for example, you can see some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. You can see how there is repetition of the same consonant sound at the end or within words, right? And this is what you call consonants. Like you can see how T is being repeated over and over. And next is onomatopoeia, which is a use of a word which imitates or suggests the sound that thing makes, right? Which imitates or suggests the sound. So you can see how, for example, there is snap, rustle, boom, and murmur. Or common onomatopoeias include like animal noises such as like oink or meow or roar and chirp. And next is internal rhyme. Internal rhyme is like when a line of poetry contains a rhyme within a single line. So there's like a rhyme inside, like in the internal side of a single line. So for example, you see, to the rhyming and the chiming of the bells. The rhyming and the chiming, right? You can see how there is a rhyme within a single line. And this is what you call internal rhyme. Okay, so this will be the end of this video. And thanks for watching and see you in the next video.